you, and a very, very good to be here. A vote of thanks to TDRA Virtual Academy for inviting me back for this program. A very brief one, but very excited to be here to be addressing this very fantastic and very interesting topic with all of you. So, warm welcome, marhaba, swagatam to all of you. And we will be starting now. But before we do start, we have a small introduction from my side. So, my name is Smita Gaurav. And what can I say about myself? I've been in Dubai for the last 11 years now. It has been my absolute pleasure to be working with multinationals and with government and semi government organizations here as a coach, consultant, and a trainer. I'm also a CTI coach. I'm also a certified positive psychology practitioner. And I also am a competency mapper and developer, which basically means that I create performance appraisals and metrics for organizations and for employees. I am the founder and the owner of the Unlimited Company, which is a company which is committed to mental health practices all across society. Budding occupational therapist here, and great to be here, and really, really happy to see that we are back in session on this very interesting topic called self management. And before I ask you to start this session, I want to ask you all some very germane, basic questions. To all of you employees, participants who have been working here in your organizations for 10 years, 15 years, tell me something. How many of you have a problem with stress? Chronic, non chronic? How many of you have frequent or infrequent anger outbursts? How many of you are facing demotivation? And how many of you are actually feeling that your goals are not centered goals, they're not resonant goals? Okay. These are great questions to ask you, and this is why, because I've got some figures for you before we start this session. And some interesting facts are like this, ladies and gentlemen. Around 80 to 85% of people who join a new job anywhere across the globe, according to Forbes, reportedly have a high degree of demotivation after 6 months, no less. Okay. In my long career of teaching people for over 15, 20 years, we see the same pattern. People join a job very happy, 30, 35, struggling with demotivation, 40, 45, just about making it through, 50, waiting for retirement and to start a side hustle or a business. This is the trajectory of an employee. Around 40 to 42% of the people reportedly have chronic stress, not non chronic. So you can well imagine that the remaining 60 or 58% will also be stressed or under stressful conditions, but not chronic, but just getting there. 20 to 27% of the people reportedly have chronic anger issues at workplace. So frequent outbursts. These are issues which are plaguing practically all work environments. Work from home, not working from home, regardless, they are pervading issues. 10 to 16% of the people reportedly tell us that they have a loss of positive goals, or they don't know how to follow through with their goals, or the goal orientation is not quite right. They don't feel happy with what they have as goals. And the biggest problem in the workplace right now is this, that we have normalized these things. We have normalized. All of these issues that we find over here, which is loss of motivation, resultant stress, workplace priorities not being able to be aligned properly, goals not being followed through, lack of emotional regulation, these are all pervasive issues. But mostly these are disguised emotional intelligence problems. These are not just self-management problems. So self-management is a very, very tiny part of emotional intelligence. Okay. So we have to talk about self-management issues in the broader framework of emotional intelligence. And so what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is our learned ability. It is an acquired ability. It is not something that you were born with. To identify, to understand, to manage your emotions and those of others. This is what we mean by emotional intelligence. Okay. It is organic, a skill. It is not given to us as we were born. And these are the four quadrants of emotional intelligence, ladies and gentlemen, under which you can see self management is right there. So, self awareness, social awareness, relationship management, and self management. Okay, this is what constitutes the EI framework. This is a huge topic, out of which we're taking a smaller topic, and we're only talking about three subtopics under that today in this very brief half an hour session. If any of you have had these issues of anger, chronic stress, please stay put and watch till the end. I have a few tips for you that might be useful to you. Okay. So, emotional intelligence is the next big thing, and this is why. And how many of you are leaders over here? Managers, men in the making, junior managers, senior managers, managing directors, maybe even. All of you who are about to take leadership positions, the leadership competency requires self management. It's an essential pillar of self management, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot afford to have a leader who is not high on these four quadrants. So, under self management, we are talking about positive outlook, achievement orientation, and emotional self control, which is mostly in this situation conflict management. This leadership manual is important to us. Okay. We always talk in HR, we always say this that, the fish always rots from the top. The fish always will rot from the top. Therefore, the leaders, the top line has to be very, very strong in self management and emotional intelligence. So, knowing how you feel about yourself and about others, knowing how others feel about you, using emotional skills that maximize your well being and happiness, that is emotional intelligence in short. Okay. And so, when we talk about self management, we understand that emotional intelligence and self management are more important than IQ. It's a stronger success predictor, not only at workplace. So, in your religious communities, in your homes, in your families, in your extended friend circle, everywhere, EI is decidedly more important than IQ. So, this as a success predictor has to be taken into account. And when we talk about EI's four quadrant, we find that self management over here has these topics underneath: transparency, initiative, goal orientation, optimism, adaptability, and self control. And in this very, very brief session today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk about self control, optimism, and goal orientation. This is what we have time for today. Hopefully, we have a different conversation about the other three quadrants, and that will be a pleasure again. So let's go. First of all, why is EI important? This was a study done on your emotional states and emotional intelligence. People with higher degree of emotional intelligence always are somewhere over here, courage till enlightenment. And as per a research done, your emotional states are not just nebulous states which have no quality, no characteristic. No, they have a frequency. So just the way you have a phone which is charged, highly charged phones will function longer and better, and a phone which is not as charged will not function as well. So just the same way, your emotional states are a vibrational frequency. And the higher you go, the better frequency you emit, the better things happen to you. This is now an established fact. And this was a research done that shame, guilt, grief, fear, apathy are the lowest of the frequencies. And these, starting from courage onwards till enlightenment, are the highest frequencies. And that is where we want you to be. So, emotional intelligence decides what are your emotional states, and your emotional states decide how happy you feel about yourself and your life, and how happy you feel about yourself and your life decides the quality of your work, your relationships. It's as simple as that. There's no rocket science going on over here. Secondly, emotional intelligence improves your psychological capital. Now, what is psychological capital? Think about your mind and your brain as a bank. Okay? Every day in the morning, you get up and you withdraw some money from that bank. It has 100 dirhams every day, and that's what you withdraw every day. You take 50s and 20s, but never put it back. So your psychological capital every day is limited. You have only this much psychological capital or hope or happiness every day morning. And we take from there and we never put it back. And so this is important because psychological capital is nothing but another name for happiness. And we always talk about happiness, ladies and gentlemen, but what is happiness? How do we define it? How do we quantify it? Is it always purchasing things, buying things, making more money, feeling better about yourself, looking better, being richer, more abundant? What is it? Actually, no. Happiness is something which is very, very basic. And as per research, this is the psychological capital model. And this is what happiness is. We have hope, we have efficacy, and I will tell you what that is. We have optimism, and we have resilience. And these four things make up happiness inside us. So we have H for hope, which is you have hope when you have a goal, you have the path to the goal, and you have the willpower. That's the first quadrant. The second is efficacy, which is belief in your ability to bring about positive results for self defined goals. You believe that this is going to happen, therefore, you will do it. Resilience, the ability to cope with negative events or adversity or problems in your life, that is resilience. And emotional intelligence greatly helps these three things. Finally, optimism. How do you see the world? How do you see your prospects? How do you see your future? How do you feel about your work, your capabilities? All that constitutes optimism. So hope, efficacy, resilience, optimism. HERO. This is the hero model. It's called the hero model. This is a very, very cutting edge positive psychology concept, which is being related to happiness a lot. And intellectual smarts will not get you there. Emotional intelligence gets you there. So this is called the hero model. Yeah. And the good thing about this is this, that we are able to cultivate this on a daily basis. Okay. So this is what happens to you when you have hope, efficacy, resilience, and optimism. So emotional intelligence gives you hope, efficacy, resilience, optimism, which enhances your attitude, knowledge, and skill, which in turn stops your obstacle management and goal completion and helps you achieve professional success. So your happiness, ladies and gentlemen, your happiness quotient, your baseline of these four will help you achieve what you want to do in life. And not just professional, even personal success. Okay. So if you have high hope, you will have better attitudes, better knowledge, better skill. If you have more optimism, you will have better attitude, knowledge, and skill. If you have better resilience, you'll be able to handle your obstacles better. If you have more efficacy, you can handle your goal completion better. So all of these things together decide what your baseline is. And therefore, EI, of which self-management is a part, helps you create the hero inside you. What is the good news? The good news is this, that we can at any given time create more and more psychological capital. They are not permanent, they are temporary. But that also means that if they are temporary, they are going to go away if you don't work upon them. So it cuts both ways. Okay. So what we have to do is to wake up in the morning and decide what our rituals are like. You can change your early morning rituals. You can change your emotional rituals every day to cultivate better hope, efficacy, resilience, and optimism. Believe me, people, there is no other happiness apart from this. There is no life apart from happiness, apart from a life of purpose. Okay, and having a sense of transcendence and a sense of belief in yourself and in the universe. Yeah, so that is that. And so emotional intelligence and self-management starts with first understanding, how are you feeling? I'm feeling angry, I'm sad, I'm not so great today, I feel a little low, I'm shamed, I feel guilty. These are the names of your feelings. And you'll be surprised as to how many people actually struggle to be able to name their feelings. It's impossible nearly for them. So that's the first skill. The second skill is to understand that whatever is happening around you is open to interpretation. You think that's the reality, but somebody else might think something else about it. So any given fact can be interpreted in two different ways. And so emotional intelligence is understanding that one event can have completely two different interpretations of it. Okay. And the third part of it is that no emotion of yours stays inside your mind, none at all. All your emotions are inhabited inside your body. Stress is the biggest reason for autoimmune disease. Okay. Nervousness is the biggest reason for gut issues. Fear, constant fear, is the biggest issue for digestion problems. Lack of emotional expression is the biggest problem for asthmatic patients. All your feelings reside inside your body. So if your body is acting up, take a look about your mental health. That's highly important. And then the behavior that comes out. So labeling, understanding that anything is open to interpretations, the body reaction, and then the behavior. These are the four ways that we can cultivate emotional intelligence. One of the things that emotional intelligence helps us to do is to do better conflict management. And to understand this, I will take you a little into biology. Our brains are not made of logic. Our brains are made up of three parts: the neocortex, which is the logical brain, the limbic brain, which is the animal brain, and this is the reptilian brain or the snake brain. These two make up the bigger part of your brain. This is a very tiny part. These two also are responsible for the emotional outbursts or the emotions that we experience, these two. And they are stronger than your logical brain. So at any given time, if you have an emotional reaction, stop and check into it, because otherwise, this too will ensure that you will have a big conflict somewhere. And why does that happen? It happens because of this part called the amygdala. Your amygdala is the reason why you suddenly have rage or anger or shouting or difficult experiences around people when you are into a conflict mode. This is the amygdala. Okay. So this causes us to go into a state of emotional hijack. And what's an emotional hijack? A hijack happens when you have a trigger. Somebody said something bad to you. You did not like it. You have a strong emotion, and then you have an automatic reaction, and then you have regret. This is called an emotional hijack. So if any of you who are watching today have had an emotional hijack, stop and please hear the next 2-3 slides. It might be important for you. So this is what happens to us when we have a trigger. Somebody said something bad. We've had a car cutting in front of our car. The boss did not give a good feedback, or a peer said something to us which was not nice. We have a physical response to it. Okay, our heart starts beating faster. Our palm starts sweating. We feel anger and fear, and then what automatically happens is maybe you have a strong reaction or a shouting or a smashing or saying something which was unpleasant, and you really, really hoped later that you had not said that. And this is what happens when you do emotional intelligence practices. The time between the trigger and the reaction lessens. Okay, the intensity also lessens, and therefore there is no regret. So what happens is that when you are practicing emotional intelligence and self-management, what happens is you slow down the process of reaction. The judgment time goes down. And so what comes out of you afterwards is something which was well thought of and completely, in cohesion with who you are as a person. You don't feel bad about it. You don't feel like, you said something which makes you feel bad about yourself. So understanding your anger is important. And now I would ask you to please look at this thing wherein the ball is your anger and the tub full of water is actually your mind. Imagine pushing your anger back in your mind. Imagine pushing this ball back in the water tub. What's going to happen? Very clearly, the ball is going to bounce right back. And the harder you push, the stronger will be the pushback. So it's important to realize that none of your anger can ever be pushed down into a place. If you are pushing your anger down, please stop. As of right now, please stop and learn to understand your anger. Instead, I would request you to please take up this small slide right here and listen to this, what I'm saying right now. This is the emotional freedom technique. Emotional freedom technique. So with your hands in a karate chop position, you can tap onto the top of your head, under your eyebrows, side of your eyes, under your nose, chin, collarbone, arms, anywhere. Of course, you don't do that in the middle of your office work or in a meeting or in front of your peers. You do it in the morning time when you have free or leisure time at your hand, or in the evening. And I promise you that if you make this an everyday practice or an unconscious practice, you will find your anger and stress going down bit by bit every day. Okay. This is one of the techniques that I recommend to any and everybody who's had chronic stress, chronic anger, non chronic stress, non chronic anger. Please do this. It is highly recommended. It's going to help you. The second thing that we can do about stress is it's called the sober technique. So, any of you who are addicted to too much eating, addicted to too much of negative emotions, addicted to anything because of stress, TV watching, whatever it is that your poison is, combating stress can happen with the sober model. And what is a sober model? It's very simple. Stop whatever you're doing, like just stop it. Don't do anything. Just put your hands down, refocus, and observe how is your body talking to you. And you will remember that your body talks to you. Your gut will always tell you how you're feeling. Either your gut is tight or it's too loose, or either you're breathing too fast or too slow, either your palms are sweating or not. It's always there in your body. Do not ignore it, gentlemen, ladies, do not. And then you can try the breathing pattern of 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out. So 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out. That's how we do it. And so you expand to your whole body and your surroundings, and then you respond mindfully and with awareness. So mindfully would not mean that taking your phone and starting to work on that. It would be meaning simple things. Look at the colors around you. Look at the birds chirping. Notice your own breathing. Small things around you, become mindful of that. That is how you redirect your brain into coming back into homeostasis. So combating stress can happen with EFT and with the sober technique. Okay, I hope that we're on track. So the brain has an amygdala that causes you to go into reaction mode very soon. The way to stop the amygdala from reacting is to actually stop what you're doing and observe what is happening in your mind and body. Name the emotion if you can. Breathe in and out in patterns. Try the EFT tapping technique and combat stress with the sober model. These are going to be helpful. Understand your anger. Any kind of anger which is aggressive, which is out to harm somebody physically, is called behavioral anger. Not recommended. The only kind of anger that should be a good anger is constructive anger expression. Okay, Google this out. Constructive expressions of anger. You will get so much of material. It's all out there. And if we were doing a session, this would have taken one whole session altogether. Chronic anger, if you're generally feeling angst and bitterness and a sense of resentment towards other people, please stop, take note, it's not healthy. It's going to cause your body to go into diseases. Passive aggressive behavior, if you're avoiding getting angry, if you become sarcastic, if you try to deflect it with humor all the time, that is also not healthy. Owning up to your emotions, ladies and gentlemen, is very important in self management. Owning up to your vulnerability, owning up to your anger, owning up to your shame, that is the first step to healing. We do not sidestep it, do not push it down, we do not, give it a backseat for some time. We don't do that. It's unhealthy. Retaliatory anger is when you have an instinctive response to other people. The moment the other person said, and then you react. That was the emotional hijack that we were talking about. But the most dangerous form of anger is self abusive anger, where you start feeling hopeless, unworthy, ashamed, humiliated. That is anger turned inside towards your own self. And that can be detrimental to your health beyond understanding. Every time when you get into an anger mode, remember that chemicals are released in your body. And if those chemicals keep on circulating in your body, it is going to impact your health. Okay. So, that being said, we have to understand our anger. Okay. Growing motivation is the last bit of our session today. And how do we grow motivation? It's very, very simple, but most people never do it. People who are highly motivated are people who have a high degree of hope. They can conceptualize their goals. They can envision more than one or two pathways to reach there. They can also envision what will happen if they have an obstacle. and they will perceive and actively employ pathways in pursuit of their goal. Okay. So anybody who has a high degree of motivation has these three things in their hand. They have a goal, what they want to achieve. They have pathways towards it, and they have agency. Agency is a sense of willpower, a sense of control over your own actions. And these three together create hope and motivation in the other person. One of the ways that we can enhance hope is asking curious questions. So, what do you want to do? Open ended questions. How did that feel? What else do you want to do? This makes a person go into a broad and build theory kind of a pattern where you start feeling expanded emotions and your emotional states start going up. Okay. So, goals and hope cannot exist in a vacuum. Okay. Goals are the concrete destination for the conceptual quality called hope. So, anytime you are feeling low on motivation, please check on your hope. Please check on your goals. Okay. And one of the best ways to create better hope is to describe past experiences of success, your goals. How did you do it? What was great about it? What did you feel? And the moment you start doing that, positive chemicals start going inside your body. So, dopamine, serotonin, all of these, which are reward chemicals and happiness chemicals, start circulating inside your body, and suddenly your body chemistry changes. And as your body chemistry changes through your thoughts, therefore your actions start changing. And so a person's attention towards hopeful elements starts happening. Okay. And the other thing is micro goaling, which is where you break your goals into smaller bits, bite-sized bits, achievable bits. And the re-goaling part is when you are finding out if your goals were unrealistic. Is this goal realistic? Can I make 1 million in a month with absolutely no job right now? That's not realistic. Is this a false goal? Am I only running after fame and money and not actual achievement? Am I saying that my goals are avoidant, which is to say, I don't want to fail? That's an avoidant goal. I don't want to lose my promotion. That's an avoidant goal. I want to succeed. That's a non avoidant goal. I want to have a promotion. That's a non avoidant goal. So, growing hope through micro goaling and re goaling is very important. Okay. And so we enhance your pathways by breaking your steps into smaller ones. Okay. You mentally rehearse. People who mentally rehearse their goal achievement and the goal pathways invariably do well. This is fantastic news for all the people who dream. Okay. So if you're visualizing something big on a daily basis, it is going to happen that you will behave just the same way. You have programmed yourself into a particular manner, and that's how you behave. So if you're programming yourself for failure, that's exactly what's going to happen to you. Okay. Learning new skills. Are you learning new skills to reach your goal? Okay. And then having smaller goals in between to follow through. This is one of the ways that you can do a mind map for pathways or for better motivation is to create one job that you want to do and find out different patterns that will help you achieve there. So it could be anything that constitutes how to do one particular task. Mind maps works great for pathways. Okay. So that being said, so what we are basically saying is that motivation can be done through goals, pathway, and agency. Okay. Goals can be redirected through micro goaling and re goaling. People who visualize always do better with their goals. People who visualize pathways do better with their pathways. It's very simple. People who are in emotional states which are expanded and positive always do better with motivation. That's a given fact, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. And I would highly recommend all of you to please take a look at these two books and read them through because this is what a lot of research is telling us all about. So Bend Not Break by Ping Fu and Mindset by Carol Dweck are the two path-making books that have been coming into circulation, and I would highly recommend that you go through them. So just to take you back through the entire program once again, is that we started by self-management. Self-management happens to be a very small part of emotional intelligence, and emotional intelligence is remarkably more important than EQ as a success predictor. And so we were talking about goal orientation, adaptability, and self-control. And so we said that EI actually helps emotional states going better from negative to positive, from low frequency to high frequency. It also improves our psychological capital or our happiness quotient. So we have to work on this on an everyday basis. Otherwise, hope, efficacy, optimism, and resilience, which are the four quadrants of happiness, the hero model that we talked about right now, is also because of EI. This EI helps us in achieving all our long term and short term goals and also helps us to improve ourselves as people, okay, and leverage our lives as a whole, okay. And then we talked about how these can be cultivated on a daily basis. Not, it is not something that was God gifted to you. No, it's not a trait like thing. It's a state like thing. It's relatively temporary. So if you don't work upon it, it goes away. If you work upon it, it comes back. It's as simple as that. So labeling a feeling, thinking about the interpretations of any particular activity or in any trigger that happened, checking with your body responses, and then minding your behavior is vitally important in emotional intelligence. If you cannot find on Google, you can easily find on Pinterest. There are so many feeling charts. You can just find out what you are wanting to feel or what you would like to feel and what you are feeling currently. Conflict management, the biology of the brain is important over here. Our brain is, of course, into three halves, the reptilian and the limbic and the neocortex. The neocortex is the logical brain, whereas reptilian and limbic brain decide our emotional reactions. These have to be taken into account, and if you try to cover them up or to stop them, they will react. The amygdala is in charge of all your negative emotions, your outbursts, your angry, shouting, screaming matches, whatever. And if that hijacks you, you happen to have a trigger which elicited a strong emotion, and that give an automatic reaction, and then you have regret. So, the best thing to do whenever you're under a trigger is to name the emotion, feel how you're feeling in your body, and then slow down the entire process of what you're feeling between the trigger and the reaction. Otherwise, you're likely to regret any kind of outburst that came out which you did not mean or which is detrimental to you or you did not want that to happen. So understanding your anger is important. Anger is something that you can't wish away. You no matter how much you push it down, it's like a ball inside a bucket full of water. It is going to bounce back big time. And the more you push it down, the worse it becomes. And the worse it becomes, over a period of time, your body starts getting habituated to it. And so you have internalized anger. You have chronic anger. Okay. And that is horrible to your system. So the EFT tapping technique is one of the best ways to handle your anger and stress. Please look this up and do this more often. It's fantastic a tool, I can promise you. It's researched to change the biology of your brain. So your brain starts looking different when you start doing EFT. It is that good at combating anger and stress. The sober model is very important for people who are under stress or people who have got addictions because of stress. Both ways, it's fantastic. So stop whatever you're doing, check with your body. Check with your body because your body is always telling a story, only we are not wanting to listen. Breathe in and out in patterns of 444. Expand your whole body and your surroundings. Respond mindfully and with awareness. Yeah. Understanding that your anger can only be healthy when it is expressed healthily. So when you express an anger healthily, it is not a shouting match. It is said something which you express a need, understand that this need is being put to the other person respectfully, and then you say that you're not happy with this. But at no point in time do you raise your voice or you do become abusive or getting behavioral anger, which is physically aggressive, or chronic anger, which is always inside the system, or passive aggressive, where you become sarcastic and bitter, not nice to have at all. Yeah. Or retaliatory anger, where you just retaliate without even wondering why you're retaliating. And the worst kind of anger, like we said, is self abusive anger, where you start abusing your body through feelings of shame, hopelessness, unworthiness, humiliation, ashamed, etc., negative talk, self harm, substance abuse, or disordered eating. Any of these things can become self abusive anger. Okay. For growing motivation, like we said, it's important to have three things, which is the goal, pathway, and the agency. These three things will help you have more motivation. Find out a goal which is really your size and then work on it. Find out different pathways. If not this, then what? If not that, then what? Upskill yourself accordingly and then have belief in your agency and your ability to complete this. Ask curious questions of yourself, of your children, of your spouse, of your workplace colleagues to encourage this. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, happiness is contagious. If you're happy, you pass it on to some people. If you're not, the other people also catch on. In fact, there's a huge research based in the US which showed that clusters of people who are happy, they stay together. And if there's one person who's unhappy, he will consistently make other people unhappy as well. So, happiness, motivation, they're all contagious. Yeah. So, one of the ways that you can also grow hope and motivation is describe the past goals, experiences, and successes and find out how you felt. When you feel that way, the positive chemicals start going into your body. The reward chemical, dopamine, serotonin, they all start circulating in your body and your body chemistry changes. And since your body chemistry changes, your actions change. Since your actions change, the outcome changes, and so you go into a positive loop. There's definitive science behind it. So we're not just talking about theory anymore. Yeah. Micro goaling is important. Cut your goals into smaller size, achievable bite sized one that you can do. Create accountability. Re-goaling. Are your goals realistic or unrealistic? False or true? Avoidant or non-avoidant? You can tell if the goal is a good goal. If it's a good goal, your body will automatically be triggered to do it better. You will feel that you are up for something good and you will want to complete it. If not, you will habitually fall back into lethargy or some kind of procrastination or pushing it for later on. This is always going to happen. Listen to your goals. Visualization is highly important. So, mentally rehearse scripts for what you would do when you encounter a blockage. Start with breaking the goals into smaller ones. Start thinking bigger. Visualize as much as you can. Begin your pursuit of a distant goal by concentrating on the first sub goal. That's vitally important. Yeah. And finally, you can create mind maps for map pathways. This really helps. It's visual, it's right in front of your eyes. It helps you function. One of the things that I want to tell you today, right now, also is this, that if you are consistently under anger, you have long term anger issues, you might want to look at and understand this small theory here, which is this, that anytime when we are acting in a different manner, we are not only one personality. Ladies and gentlemen, throughout our childhood till your adulthood, from till the age you become middle aged or old age, there are different facets of a personality which keep coming into us. Okay, one is a critic, one is a child, one is a manager, one is a firefighter. We are all a sum of parts. There are very many parts to us. So every time when we have anger issues, these two are in charge. Firefighters, they are reactive, they have frantic energy, they have sleep dissociation, they have stop the pain at every cost, they will not listen to anything. That's the firefighter part of you. Then you have the managers who keep scanning for danger, okay, who wonder what's going to strike next, okay. They're managing everything. These are parts of your body, these are parts of your personality. And when we understand that all of these personalities are trying to fulfill something, they're not your enemies, they're trying to fulfill something. You understand and you talk to that part of yourself. Are you angry? Yes, I'm angry. In fact, this kind of psychodrama really works very well in therapy, where people just take two different chairs and they start talking to each other, talking to themselves rather, and you will be surprised as to what comes out. It's like there were two people who came out of one person's body and they start telling their stories. So your angry part has a story. Listen to it and assure it and say, listen, I will take care of this. Don't get angry the next time. Tell me what you want. I'll handle it. This is one of the very, very fun and beautiful and organic ways of handling anger. No matter how much anger you suppress, it's never going to help you. Okay. The other bit is this, that if you are under constant stress, please understand that there's cortisol inside your body, which is circulating in high degrees. There's noradrenaline, which is going inside your body in high degrees. And both of these chemicals are going to be your physical undoing. You will definitely have a disease coming sooner or later. Okay. Don't believe me? Go and get a cortisol check done, and you will find that a lot of us have cortisol functions going on. So, bigger bellies, skin issues, hair falling are sometimes typical signs of high degree of cortisol in the body, and therefore your biology is being changed because of stress. Do not please take it for granted at all, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. The second thing, and the third and the final thing I wanted to say to you is this, that whenever you have, what are the One of the ways that you can become more optimistic is to change the way you're talking to yourself. Okay. Please stop saying things to yourself like, I am bad at this or I don't do good at this. So the process of labeling yourself is the most detrimental, the most terrible abuse that we put ourselves through. Okay. So next time when you do something well, don't say I'm great or I'm fantastic. Say I did this well. Keep it to facts. Okay. Next time when you don't do something well, do not say I failed at this. I'm miserable. Say I did not do this well. Because whenever you're in a habit of labeling, either positively or negatively, your mind either goes into too much of hope or complete hopelessness, too much of motivation or complete demotivation, too much of optimism or not at all. So, healthy optimism is always based on facts. I was not able to do this. So, the other person should ask you in that case, what would you like to do? Well, I would like to do one, two, three, four things that will maybe make me feel better. That way, you're able to cultivate more pathways in your mind to be able to achieve. So, the more non judgment, more non labeling, whether negative or positive, whatever, either be the case, it is, you will always have hope and motivation budding and optimism budding when you do not have any judgments on yourself on the other person. And when you start giving this gift of non-judgment to yourself, you also give it to the other person. So anybody who's around you feels blessed to be understood on a factual basis. And that is how the contagion starts. Okay. So we cannot have healthy organizational culture. We cannot have fantastic workplace environments. We cannot have good peer to peer relationships if we are busy judging each other either as fantastic or as worthless. We are all people and we all will do well, and sometimes we will not do well. Sometimes we will shine, and sometimes we will completely fade out. And guess what? It's all right. It doesn't matter because we're not meant to be perfect. We are meant to be human, we are organic beings. So it's important to not judge and label, and you will be surprised as to how much curiosity is playing a part in leadership conversations now. All of leadership conversations are now revolving around curiosity, healthy curiosity, and non judgment. Practice the pause, ladies and gentlemen. That's my humble and sincere advice to you. Practice the pause. Do not jump to any kind of conclusions whatsoever before you have all facts in yourself, okay? Even if when you have facts, do not give value based judgments. Do not say, oh, this was fantastic, that was not. We are not over here to pass labels on people. We are here to accept ourselves and accept other human beings. That's the important takeaway in this lesson. So, happiness is an outcome of emotional intelligence. Self management is a very small part of emotional intelligence, and we all can have all three of it with daily practices. Some of the daily practices I would highly recommend to you is gratitude practice first thing in the morning. Gratitude practice changes the biology of your brain completely. Completely. Okay, so anytime when you're having gratitude or meditation practices, your brain changes. It's something that is organic. If there was an fMRI test done to you or a neurofeedback done to you, you will see that your brain starts changing. It's that powerful. So it's not something that was just written in our, dictions or in our religious texts, and now we're doing that. No, it's actually something that is scientifically proven, and neuroscience will back us on this. Any other questions that anybody has? So please do say. I'm willing to take all the questions right now. We've done a recap. I've taken a few preemptive questions. I would like to understand if anybody has any questions whatsoever. I'll be very very happy to take you through this. It's been fantastic talking about this. It's a topic very very close to my heart, and I do believe that each of us need a leg up in this area of our lives, which is emotional intelligence and self management. To those who are doing this well, kudos to you. I could take a page, I could take a leaf out of your page, and and to those who are struggling, please do help yourselves by finding out more. This is something that can change your life. So we're talking on those grounds right now. Yeah. Any questions? I will be happy to entertain. Please. We have another couple of minutes before we wind up. Anybody wants to talk about something or ask anything? I am right here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so we just talked about this. The way that we can become more optimistic is the first thing is to talk optimistically to ourselves. Okay. And the way that we can talk optimistically to ourselves is to stop any kind of value based judgments on ourselves. Do not, at any given time, ever give yourself a statement of judgment like, I did this well, I'm fantastic, I'm excellent, she's fantastic, she's really intelligent. These are labels. Because what happens is when you don't do well, the opposite of that starts happening. Oh, she's not so great after all. She's not so intelligent. Well, she's all right. She's strictly okay. Both of these are based on judgments. Remain on facts. Okay. Anytime when you do something well, say, I'm not excellent. I only did this well. And I think that went well for me. The next time when you fail, do not say, oh, I failed miserably at this. Say, you know what, I did this wrong, and maybe that's why I wasn't able to complete it to my satisfaction. Remain on facts, ladies and gentlemen. Do not, do not at any given time start passing judgments on yourself. Give empathy to yourself and acceptance to yourself. Give it to the other person. You automatically come across as a person who's more empathetic and optimistic. So empathy and optimism oftentimes go together. That's the beauty of it. Okay. So long term anger, yes, like I said, the question I had just told you about right now was right here. One of the ways that we can handle long term anger is this, that we are all a sum of very many parts. We are not just one person, we are multiple people inside one. So one of you is a small child inside, the other part of you is a very strong critic. One part of you is a firefighter who says, no, I've got to get this thing done. This is important and I have to get it done. One of you is very calm, always managing things. Sounds familiar? All of us have very many parts. And if your firefighter is coming out and fighting too much, because that's what the firefighter does, talk to your firefighter. Yes, I know it sounds very, very simple, but you will be surprised that the neuroscience backs this process. When you start talking to that part of you, which is an angry part, you help them understand that they are here to help you. They are not your enemies. They're not your derailers. They're trying to help you and they don't know how. So they start reacting. Okay. And when they start reacting, your job is not to push them down like the ball inside the bucket. Your job is to come and say, hey, tell me what's going on with you. What do you want to do? Well, I'm angry about this. The last time is what this, the same thing happened. And then it's your turn to talk to yourself with more love and compassion. So reparenting yourself is very important. Just the way you would reparent your child. You would tell your child, hey, listen to me. I'm talking to you. What's wrong? That's the way we need to talk to ourselves. I'm very sorry for the coughing. There's a lot of dust in UAE today, so I'm having a bit of trouble with that. I hope it's all cool. So, the long term anger happens when you are not able to talk to your parts and you keep on pushing them down, and they say, this is what? It's too much. I'm going to now break out. I'm going to break out. And that breakout happens once, twice, thrice, and then your body gets addicted to those emotions inside your body. They're circulating. So a lot of us really enjoy the fights. They say, oh, you know what, mashallah, I love a fight coming. That's because your body is addicted to all those negative emotions inside. The chemicals which are being released, it's an addiction over there. So you need to understand it from the biology and from the neurobiology perspective before we say that we have an anger issue. You have an anger issue, it's going to sooner or later transmute into a health issue. You can be sure about that. Thank you so much for your time, ladies and gentlemen. It's been great talking to you. Thank you so much, TDRAVA, for your time and for inviting me again. I've thoroughly enjoyed presenting this session. It's been very heartfelt, as you can tell, and I do hope to see you all over again. Smita Gaurav signing off from here. Bye-bye. Do take care and have a great, great weekend ahead.